$2 bill mistakes that are making collectors rich. Now, most people don't even know that the US still produces $2 bills to this day. That's right, guys, you can still go to your local bank and pick up $2 bills. In this video, I'm going to be going over some very rare and valuable $2 bills that you don't want to miss or overlook because they could be worth a whole lot more money than just $2. Alright, starting off with this first 1976 $2 bill. Someone turned this $2 bill into $1,050. Now you may be asking, how could I turn my $2 bill into over $1,000? Well, this is how you're going to do it. So first of all, you want to be looking very closely at your serial number. Make sure that they are the same on both sides. So as you can see here, it is a bit hard to see, but as soon as you see it, you cannot unsee it. At the start, the first digit is going to be an H on the bottom left and a B on the top right. This is what we call a mismatched serial number error, and they are incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. And please guys, do not fold your bill because that will be decreasing the value significantly. Once again, 1,050 buckaroos. So starting off with the back of this bill that sold for $2,160. I like starting off with the back because the back is actually the first print in the printing process for paper money. Now the second print is on the front, which you see there facing normally in black. And the third and final print is going to be that overprint, which is inverted. So this is a rare inverted overprint error note, and it sold for $2,160. Up next, we have a $2 bill that sold for $3,960. It's a 1976 $2 bill. Now, as well as not folding your bill, the next thing that's very important is the centering. So you can see the white margin around this bill is not centered very well at all. So the grade is not going to be as high as it could have been if it has no folds and just poor centering like this. So the big thing here that brings the value is going to be that back. The back of the bill is completely missing the print. Now you got to be careful because some bad actors will watch a video like ours and they'll try to remove the printing on the back of the bill. That's why getting your bill graded by a third-party company like PMG or PCGS is going to be very important when you come across a rare bill like this. But these grading companies are professionals. They know exactly what to look for when it comes to your rare $2 bill. Once again, this one sold for $3,960. $4,080. Looking at the back of this $2 bill, it looks like someone just got a pair of scissors and cut off that corner, but flipping it over to the front, you can see this is what we call a printed fold error. So during the printing process, the back of the bill is printed like normal, and then the front of the bill is printed like normal, and then in between the third and second print, the bill got folded over and printed on, causing this printed fold over error that sold for $4,080. $5,040 for this $2 bill that has no overprint. You can see the seal and serial numbers are completely missing from this bill, but wait a minute, what about the back of the bill? Would you look at that? The overprint is actually on the back of this bill, which makes it even more rare and valuable. That is why this one sold for $5,040. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and we will see you in the next one. Banknote auctions are going insane. Look what just sold for $19,200. In this video, I'm going to be going over some incredibly rare and valuable paper money bills. Every single note you see in this video is 100% genuine, and all of the sales happened on heritage auctions, which are confirmed, paid in full auctions that happened recently. Now I'm going to start you off with an absolute banger of a note. This one sold for $14,400. It is a genuine silver certificate United States note. Now what is a silver certificate? Essentially, back in the day, our paper money was actually backed by bullion, whether that was gold or silver. That means you could technically bring this $10 bill to your bank and they would give you $10 worth of value of silver in return. Such an amazing concept that I still wish they did today. Now most $10 silver certificates are not going to be worth nearly anywhere close to this amount of money, $14,400. But here's the reality. 1933 is a very special year for the silver certificate. A lot of people call this the king of silvers. Now in 1933, the US was in the middle of a banking crisis and the Great Depression. To restore confidence in paper money, the Treasury prepared to release a new type of $10 silver certificate, which was the series of 1933. Even though over $10 million worth of 1933 $10 silver certificates were printed, almost none of them were released into circulation. The plan was abandoned after Roosevelt took the US off the gold standard and shifted limited currency policies. Nearly all of the notes were destroyed before issue. So look, when it comes to the grade and condition of your bill, it's super important to have a nicely preserved banknote. This one got graded by PMG at a very fine 25. Understand that 1's the lowest and 70 is the highest. So it's cool that a bill like this actually went out in pocket change, it was spent back in the day, and eventually someone's like, hey, this is actually a pretty rare banknote from 1933. I'm gonna hold on to this one, put it in my collection, and guys, turning a $10 bill into $14,400 is absolutely mind-blowing, but that is what this person did. So here's another genuine $10 bill. This one is from the Hawaii series. So after the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th of 1941, the US feared that Japan might invade Hawaii. Military leaders worried that if Japan took the island, millions of dollars in US currency could fall into enemy hands and be used against America. To prevent this, the US government created a special series of US currency that could be declared worthless if captured. The result? What you're looking at right here. This banknote sold for $18,600. It's a $10 Hawaii banknote. Now, one very special feature about this specific bill is clearly you're going to see the brown seal and serial numbers. You're going to see a small black Hawaii overprint on the left and right hand side, and then on the back you have this beautiful large Hawaii stamp right over the back. These bills are incredibly collectible because of the history around them. They are an emergency issue, and also this specific bill right here is special because it has a star at the end of the serial number. Now, star notes are essentially replacement notes that replace any misprints, damaged bills, or any issues during the printing process where a banknote needs to replace that specific bill. Star notes are rare in themselves, so having them in this high of a grade of a 65 allowed this $10 Hawaii star note to sell for $18,600. $19,200 for this $100 bill. This one got graded by PMG at a 68 star, an incredibly high grade, only 2 points away from the perfect grade of 70. Now, really quickly, you may be asking, how do I get a higher grade? So from 60 to 70, that means you have no folds on your bill. So if you're not folding your banknotes, you're more than likely going to have a grade between 60 and 70. From there, how do you get a higher grade? Let's say you send a bill in to get graded and it comes back at a 64, and then your friend submits a bill and gets a 68. The main difference between your guys' grades is going to be the centering of the margins. The margins are the white border that you see around your bill. The more centered it is, the higher the grade you're going to get. Also, this is a solid number 8 serial number. So in the world of paper money, fancy serial numbers will bring demand and value for your specific bill. Now, what I always tell people is like, look, you can go to your local bank and try to find a bill like this. All you got to do is ask the bank teller in a nice way, hey, do you have some pack fresh bills that I could have because I'm a collector? Then what you can do is you can look through them all and try to find some rare error notes or fancy serial numbers that could be worth a lot of money. Because this is a solid number 8 serial number, and 8 is a very lucky number in a lot of countries, these solid numbers are very, very valuable. It sold for $19,200. All right, so we know what the silver certificate is. This one is from 1934. Now, typically you're going to find silver certificates that are from 1934. Remember, 1933 is incredibly rare. It is a key note, but this one sold for $24,000. That's incredible for this bill. Not only is this a star note, but it's also a narrow variety. PMG at the time only graded 3 narrow stars for this specific Freeburg number, so it's an incredibly challenging note to come across. Once again, we know what a star note is, and you can see at the end of the grade there's a star. So it got graded by PMG at a 65 EPQ star. Essentially, the star designation is given by a grader if they think the note is extremely nice, if it has nice embossing, nice color, just overall really good eye appeal. And once again, this one sold for $24,000, mainly because it's a highly graded 1934D narrow star note. Very, very cool there. $24,000. All right, $42,000 for this $1 bill. It is a genuine legal tender note. So remember that 1928 is actually the first year of issue for US paper money. This bill specifically is highly collectible because of the red seal and serial number. People think it's the coolest thing ever. Also, you can see the back of the bill is pretty funny looking, and interestingly enough, the nickname of a bill like this is a funny back. PMG graded it at a 65 EPQ. That means there's not a single fold on this bill whatsoever. Highly collectible, and also it's a star note. So this bill has just about everything going for it. Really high grade. It's also a star note, and it's sold for $42,000. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we will see you in the next one. Check your pants for this 2003 quarter because it's a hidden jackpot. In this video, we're going over some 2003 Statehood quarters that you're not going to want to miss. This was one of the most popular coins coin series in US history. It launched in 1999 and ended in 2008. The purpose was to honor each of the 50 United States with a unique reverse design on the Washington quarter. Let's take a look at this first 2003 Denver issued PCGS graded mint state 68 Alabama statehood quarter. I understand that was quite the mouthful, but I'll keep it very brief and to the point here. When it comes to grading your coin, 70 is the highest achievable grade. This one got a 68, so it is only 2 points away. There are 3 really good grading companies. You got PCGS, NGC, and CAC or CAC, and these are really going to return the best money for your investment if you end up getting your coin graded. Do understand that most of the time getting your coin graded is actually not worth it, so please be advised, as there is a good chance you probably should not get your coin graded. But if it's in really good condition and it makes sense, then you could turn a little 25-cent quarter into $129 like this person did. Moving right along to Illinois. Now, I did mention that the previous coin had a D mint mark standing for the Denver Mint. You can also have a P mint mark standing for the Philadelphia Mint. Now, Philadelphia, a lot of the time on most coins, you're not going to have the P mint mark actually stand out, but on these coins you do. So it is right at the bottom right hand side of the front of the coin. This one also got graded by PCGS at a mint state 68, and depending on how many coins were issued for either Philadelphia or Denver, can definitely have an influence on the value of the coin. This one sold for $180. Alright, 2000P Arkansas PCGS graded mint state 68. I really enjoy the designs on the back of these coins. Myself personally, growing up, I also collected them, and if you're able to get all of the coins in the series, then there is a bit of additional value you can extract out of these coins, especially if you're selling them online. But just understand that individually they're not going to be worth a crazy amount of money unless you find a really interesting coin like I'm going to talk about later in this video. But this example of a coin was able to sell for $216. Up next, we do have a coin that sold for $720. So understand this as well, that market timings can have an influence on the value. If there's a lot of demand for a specific coin and there's a few bidders that are really wanting to get their hands on a specific coin, then that might result in an instance like this where the coin sells for a lot of money. PC just graded it at a mint state 68. It is a statehood quarter from Maine, and Denver issued the coin. It sold for $720. 1,080 bucks for this Missouri statehood quarter from Philadelphia. PC just graded it at a mint state 68, and it sold for $1,080. Here is that Arkansas quarter I was talking about. This one was accidentally struck on a dime, and it sold for $5,640. That is an incredible amount of money for a statehood quarter. NGC graded it at a mint state 64. Please, if you ever come across any of the coins you see in this video, especially this last one here, make sure you contact a rare coin expert because they'll help you maximize the value. Don't get scammed. Don't go to a pawn shop. We'll see you guys in the next video. If you have a red $2 bill, watch this now. Now, a lot of people actually still think that $2 bills are rare, but little do they know, you could actually go to your local bank and get $2 bills right now. But in this video, we're going over red $2 bills, which are 100% genuine United States legal tender. Also, all the sales in this video are backed by real data from Heritage Auctions. They are final sales for genuine bills. Now, the legal tender was actually the first type of US paper money, first authorized during the Civil War to help finance the war effort. Unlike silver certificates, which were backed by silver, or Federal Reserve notes, what we use today, legal tenders were backed only by the credit of the US government. Now, you may be asking, why are they red? The red ink was chosen to distinguish them from other types of notes, like blue seal silver certificates, green seal Federal Reserve notes, yellow seal North African notes, or gold seal gold certificate bills. Now that we got that out of the way, right off the bat, we have quite a doozy for you. So typically, every single banknote that you look at is going to have what's called a back plate and front plate position number and sometimes letter. Essentially, a plate position is the position of that specific bill on the printing plate. It's an internal number that the US BEP can use to see where that specific bill is located. Long story short, this one is actually missing that backplate number. We'll show you what that backplate number typically looks like. So if your $2 bill legal tender note is missing a backplate number, number, that could make it rare and valuable, and this one sold for $360. $660 for this 1953 $2 legal tender bill. Now during the printing process, not many people know that the back of the bill is actually the first print, then the second print is everything you see on the front, which is black, and the third and final print is going to be that overprint, which is the red seal and serial numbers. This one has its first print misaligned, which is the back of the bill, and that's why it sold for $660. $1,080 for this 1928 $2 bill legal tender note. Now it's important to know that you should not be folding your bill whatsoever. Every single fold that you put in your bill will decrease its grade, therefore decreasing its value. So do not fold your bill, keep it very safe and secure. But the main reason why this one sold for $1,080 is going to be because of the back being inverted. It's upside down. That's going to dramatically increase the value. It sold for $1,080. $1,500 for this 1928 $2 bill legal tender note. Now this one got graded by PMG at a choice very fine 35, and essentially what a mule note is when the back plate number and the front plate numbers should not have gone together. So what happened back in the day is they printed a bunch of the backs of the bills, and sometimes when they needed to do a new production run, they wouldn't have any backs to be printed for that specific series. So what they do is they would pull different stock from a different series and link it up together. So essentially the back of the bill should not have ever gone with the front of this bill. You can tell if you have a mule note by looking at the size of the back plate number versus the front plate number. If the sizes are different, there's a chance you have a mule. This specific mule backplate number is 290, and this one sold for $1,500. $1,620. It's a 1963 $2 bill. Now understand that the later year $2 bills that you come across are generally going to be worth less money than the older ones. So 1928 is definitely the year that you want to go for if you were able to find one of these bills. This one's from 1963, but it still sold for $1,620, and the main reason it sold for so much money is simply going to be that grade. This one literally got the perfect grade of 70, which is so hard to come across. Now, like I said, from 60 to 70 means that you have a brand new bill with no folds on it whatsoever. The way to get from 60 all the way up to 70 is mainly going to come down to the centering of the margins. The more centered your bill is, the more of a chance you have of it being highly graded by a company like PMG or PCGS. The better the centering, the higher the grade, the more money it's going to be worth. This one sold for $1,620 because it got the perfect grade of 70. So back in the day, you could actually get a pack of legal tender bills from your bank. This is a pack of 1963 legal tender $2 bills. There are 100 notes total, so the face value of $200, and this pack sold for $1,920. $3,360. Now this is from 1928. It's a $2 bill. PMG graded it at a very fine 30. This one is also what we call a star note. Now star notes are pretty rare because what a star note is essentially a replacement bill. So it was produced to replace any errors, misprints, any damaged bills that happened during the printing process. So this bill is out in public hands because it replaced a damaged bill, and you can tell that because of the star. This one, even though it's in lower grade, it's a very hard bill to come by. It sold for $3,360. $4,800. Now during the printing process, the back of the bill is printed first, then the front of the bill is printed second, and then the third and final print is going to be this overprint. So the red seal, serial numbers, and the signatures are all printed last. You can see here that it was actually inverted during the printing process, and what's so cool about a bill like this is the fact that it was heavily circulated. So more than likely this was used as what we call a pocket piece, because typically someone would find a bill like this pretty quickly and put it in their pocket to hold on for a collectible experience here, because if this bill actually circulated and was paid for a very long time, it is amazing that no one noticed that the overprint was actually upside down. This bill is super hard to come by, very rare, very valuable. That's why it sold for $4,800. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next one. Good old Tennessee banknotes from your hometown. Now, all of the banknotes that you see in this video are backed by real data from Heritage Auctions. These are complete sales, and every single banknote you see in this video is 100% genuine US paper money. Now let's get this video kicked off with this really beat up fine 12 $10 bill from the Security National Bank of Jackson, Tennessee, with the charter number 10334. Now, if you didn't know, the US issued paper money for individual banks around the US, and these charter numbers are unique identifying numbers attached to these specific banks. These are great collectible items, especially if this was a town that you were raised in. They have a ton of history, and you'll notice that they have brown seals and serial numbers. These are just the coolest bills ever, and at this moment in time, they're pretty undervalued, but this one sold for $119. Now, this next one, you can see is in much better condition. The eye appeal is much nicer. It sold for $192. It is from the Hamilton National Bank of Johnson City, Tennessee, charter number 13635. This is a type 2, which means you can see there's a brown charter number to either side of the serial number. Very collectible city here. This one sold for $192. Moving right along to a bill that sold for $552. This one is from the First National Bank of Kingsport, Tennessee, charter number 10842. And as you can see here, this one is a bit miscut. Now, if you didn't know, pretty much all of these national banknotes back in the day were hand cut, especially the large size bills, simply because either they didn't have or couldn't afford a cutting machine, or they just had people hand cutting them for them. So this one is technically a little bit of an error because it's miscut, and it sold for $552. All right, here's a $100 bill from the American National Bank of Nashville, Tennessee, charter number 3032. This one got graded by PMG at a 45, choice extremely fine. That means there's about 3 folds on this bill, and understand that the less folds or no fold on your bill, the more valuable and rare it's going to be. This $100 bill sold for $600. All right, this $10 bill is from the First National Bank of Juanita, Tennessee. I do apologize if I mispronounce any of the names in this video. This is the charter number 8039. PMG graded it at a very fine 30, and it sold for $840. Here we have a $5 bill from the Irwin National Bank of Irwin, Tennessee. This is a charter number 10583. The condition is not the best here at a very fine 20, and it sold for $1,020. Up next, this $10 bill is worth $1,080, and here's why. In this video, we are going over some very rare and valuable $10 bills that you could come across at any point in time. Without any further ado, let's hop right into this video with this first 2017 $10 bill. Now, as you can see, this note was graded by PMG at a 67 EPQ, which is only 3 points away from the perfect grade of 70. The higher the grade your bill gets, the more money it's going to be worth. This $10 bill was turned into $192. This next one is a 2006 $10 bill, and I want to show you something very quickly. Right next to Hamilton's head there, you're going to see what's called a plate position. A plate position is essentially the location of this specific bill on a printing plate. Now, there's only 2 places in the whole US that print paper money, and you've got Fort Worth, Texas, and Washington, D.C. Now, if you see a small FW next to the plate position, that means your bill was printed at Fort Worth, Texas, just like this one. If the plate position does not have the FW, that means your bill was printed in Washington, D.C. Now, you can see this one got a 69, which is only 1 point away from the perfect grade of 70, and you may be asking, how did it get this high of a grade? It's going to come down to 2 things. First of all, the grades of 60 to 70 have 0 folds on them, so do not fold your bill. And if your bill has no folds, the next thing to look for is the centering, so you can see the margins or that white border around the bill on the front and back. The better centered they are, the higher the grade is going to be. This $10 bill was turned into $264. Starting on the back of this $10 bill, $660 it sold for. The back of the bill is actually the first print when it comes to printing paper money. Flipping it over to the front, you can see all of the things in black here are printed as the second print, and the third and final print is going to be the overprint, which you can see by the treasury seal, the district seal, and the serial numbers. But on this specific printing, the treasury seal was misaligned because this 2003 $10 bill has a misaligned error of the treasury seal. It sold for $660. All right, here's a 1990 $10 bill with a pretty cool error. So this is an insufficient inking error of the magnetic ink. So a lot of people don't know that there is actually magnetic ink on some of these older banknotes banknotes, and depending on the denomination and the pattern of this magnetic ink is how things like vending machines are able to read if your bill is a $10 bill or not. Because this one has an insufficient inking error for the magnetic ink, it sold for $990. 2017 $10 bill, this one sold for $1,080, and it all comes down to that really cool serial number. So this is what we call a serial number 7, aka a low serial number. The lower and cooler and fancier your serial number is, the more money it's going to be worth. This example sold for $1,080, $2,880 for this pack of 100 $10 bills with a face value of $1,000. So you could go to your local bank and ask if they have any of these packs, and if you find a pack with a cool serial number range, then it could be worth some money. You can see this is also a star note pack, which makes it even more valuable. So someone essentially almost tripled their money here just because they asked their bank teller if they had any of these cool bills. Guys, don't sleep on these $10 bills because they're selling for a lot of money. We do hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. $100 is a lot of money, but in this video, we're going over some very rare and valuable $100 bills, and I'm going to show you exactly why this $100 bill sold for $4,800. Let's just hop right into this video, starting off with this $100 bill that we're all used to seeing, this brand new banknote. Now, right off the bat, you're going to see that this is what we call a cutting error. Now, if there's ever a time that you can triple your money, you're going to take that. So if you come across a banknote like this, it might make sense to get it graded by a company like PMG because someone got this $100 bill and turned it into $312. Now, this next bill sold for $1,020. That's a lot of money for a $100 bill, especially in this condition. I mean, just look at the overall appearance of it. You can tell that it was heavily circulated, going through pocket change for quite some time before someone picked it up. And it's important to understand that this $100 bill is from the series of 1928. Now, what that means is that this is actually the first year of issue for small size paper money. Before that, we had horse blanket notes or very large size paper money bills. Now, something very interesting about this $100 bill that I just noticed was not only did the auction company Heritage Auctions miss this, but also PMG missed it. So this is actually an error note, and error notes will be increased in value, but unfortunately Heritage and PMG missed it, so the auction may not have brought as much money as it could have brought. But before I talk about the error, I want to talk about the fact that it is a star note. So star notes are produced for the purpose of replacing an error or some sort of rejection during the printing process of bills. So the crazy thing about this is that star notes typically don't have errors, but this one does. Now, if you haven't noticed what the error is already that PMG and Heritage both missed, it is an inverted star error. So the bottom left star is upside down and the top right star is like normal. Something like this is really going to increase the value, but it's a big oof because these companies missed it. I mean, it does happen, but it is slightly unfortunate. Either way, it sold for $1,020. Moving right along, you can see the stars on this one are aligned like normal. This one is from series 1934. PMG graded it at a much nicer grade of about uncirculated 58, and it sold for $1,440. Back to 1928 here. This is a very highly graded $100 bill. It got the 65 grade. Now, when it comes to paper money, understand that from 60 to 70, which is the highest grade, that means your bill is uncirculated with no folds on it whatsoever. Uncirculated bills will be worth more than circulated banknotes. So if you find something very fresh and new, just simply don't fold it because you're going to be folding the value in half quite literally. Look, you can go to your local bank and pick up banknotes that are packed fresh or out in circulation and be like, hey, try to befriend one of these bank tellers. Be nice to them, see what they can find for you. And the cool thing about hunting for banknotes is that you can look through them, and then when you're done, you can bring them back to the bank and deposit it back into your bank account. Now, understand that you're not going to hit the mother lode more than likely, but it is possible, and it's what people are doing every single day. This one sold for $2,280. Now, this one that sold for $3,600 is one of the main reasons that it makes sense to go hunting for paper money. Now, one area I want to show you is the back of the bill. Now, you're going to have a small number on the back of the bill. That is called the plate position for this specific banknote on a printing plate. Sometimes if the sizing of the plate position on the front versus the back is different, it could mean that you have a mule note, but that's more for a different video. I do want to show you the front plate position here. That's going to have a letter followed by a number, and if you look at the top left plate position, you're also going going to see a small FW before that plate position. Long story short, there's only 2 printing facilities in the whole US. You've got Fort Worth, Texas, where this banknote was printed, as you can see by the FW, and then you have Washington, D.C., which if you have a Washington, D.C. printed banknote, you're simply not going to have FW on the plate position. So that is actually how you tell where your banknotes were printed. Fun fact, right? Well, this one sold for $3,600 mainly because of this serial number and the high grade. So if you're hunting for banknotes, you want to be looking for fancy serial numbers because that will increase the value. The more fancy, the harder it is to find, the more valuable it's going to be in auction. This one sold for $3,600, $4,800 for this one. It's a 1928 star note and it is a serial number 5. These very low serial numbers are incredibly hard to come by. They are mostly already in collections tucked away, but this one is looking pretty nice at a PCGS Choice Very Fine 35. It does look like it's in a higher grade, but more than likely there are 5 folds somewhere on this bill that are hidden. This one sold for $4,800. We do hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and we'll see you in the next one. This 1960 cent has a secret worth over $5,000, and in this video I'm going to tell you exactly what it is and what you need to be looking out for, because I'm about to spill the beans on something I've never shown or told anyone before. Really glad that we're able to talk about this coin in this video, but before that we're going to talk about some other coins that sold for a lot of money from 1960. This first coin right here is a Denver issued coin. Now there's a few things we need to understand when it comes to these coins. If you have a Denver issued coin, then you're going to be wanting to look for a D mint mark below the date. Another thing that we're going to talk about here in a moment is small dates versus large dates, but this coin got the 67 grade. Being able to get the highest grade of 70 would be very, very hard, and someone turned a penny into $240. This next coin right here sold for $2,160. That's a lot of money for this coin. This is what we call a small date coin, just like the last one. PC just graded it at a mint state 67 plus. The plus sign does definitely increase the value of the coin. We are going to show you the difference between a small date and a large date. There are certain areas to look for on the coin that makes it easy to distinguish the difference between them. But once again, this one sold for $2,160. This next coin is a large date coin. It's a Denver issued coin. NGC graded it at a mint state 67 and it sold for $139. Now here's something that can fly under the radar. It's a 1960 DE large date. PC just graded it at a mint state 66. This coin didn't do as well as we thought it might, but this is what we call a D over D coin. PC just graded it at a mint state 66 and it sold for $59. Alright, now it's getting a little more interesting. So this is a 1960 D over D 1 cent coin, small over large date, aka double die obverse. PCGS graded this one at a mint state 65 red. You are going to want a USB microscope or some sort of jeweler's loupe to be able to see if you have this variant of a coin. It sold for $264. $5,040 for this coin. This coin weighs 3.11 grams with a metal composition of 95% copper, 5% silver. PC just graded at a mint state 66 plus. That is an incredibly high grade for this coin. It is a 1960 D over D small over large date. So this is a huge mistake that happened during the minting process. Getting this high of a grade is unheard of, and it's very likely that a few collectors went into a bidding war against each other, trying to bid each other up to win this coin. That is why it sold for $5,040. Moving on to Philadelphia issued coins. PC just graded this one at a mint state 66. It's a 1960 no mint mark, which means Philadelphia. 1 cent large date. It sold for $33. This next coin NGC graded at a mint state 67 large date. It sold for $109. Here we have a PCGS graded mint state 66 plus small date Philadelphia issued coin that sold for $84. And this coin right here is a small date PC just graded mint state 67 red, and it sold for $552. We do hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and we will see you in the next one. Here are the top 5 most sought after bicentennial quarters you don't want to miss. All right, here we go. Starting off with this 1976 S 25 cent silver bicentennial Washington quarter. Now this coin sold for $2,640, all because of a little mistake that happened during the minting process. Now this coin was accidentally struck on a 5 cent planchet. Planchet just means the piece of metal that the coin was struck struck on. This is something that most people could overlook depending on their knowledge base. So if you ever come across a coin that is the wrong size or the wrong weight, you might want to get a second opinion because this coin sold for $2,640. Alrighty, up next we have a 1976 D 25-cent Bicentennial quarter. Now the D stands for the Denver Mint where this coin was made, and as you can see, the size and color here is all wrong. This coin sold for $2,760 because this coin was accidentally struck on a 1-cent copper planchet. That's right, guys. So the same piece of metal they used to strike penny coins was accidentally used for this coin, and that is why it sold for $2,760. Up next, we have a very nice looking silver Bicentennial quarter. Now look at your coin that you have in your hand right now and look along the edge and rim area of your coin. If you see any copper there, then you do not have this coin, but if you see pure silver, then there's a chance you have this coin. Now this coin sold for $6,600, but it was also graded very highly by PCGS at a mint state 69. That is only 1 point away from the perfect grade of 70. You can see by that S mint mark on the bottom right hand side, this is a San Francisco issued coin, and it sold for $6,600. Up next we have what's called a DDO coin, or a doubled die obverse. Now this is a Denver issued Bicentennial quarter. PCGS graded it at a mint state 66. Now if you look closely, you can see there is some very minor doubling happening along the obverse, or the front of this coin. Because this coin graded so highly and it has that DDO, it sold for $8,400. Here we have a coin that got pretty messed up. This is a coin that was double struck on a dime planchet. It sold for $9,000. You can see there's some clear issues going on with this 25-cent Washington quarter. This is a clad coin and it is San Francisco issued. Guys, this one sold for $9,000. If you ever come across a coin like this, please hold on to it safely because you could have a rare coin. Once again, this coin sold for $9,000. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and we will see you guys in the next video. Why this dime should never be spent. In this video, we're going to be going over some incredibly rare Mercury dimes. Now these coins are 100% genuine United States issued coins. The reason they have the name of Mercury dime is because when they were first issued, a lot of people thought they resembled the Greek god Mercury. In reality, that side profile there is actually Lady Liberty. Let's get stuck into this video with this first coin. It's a coin that looks pretty beat up. It sold for $2,220. This is an incredibly rare coin, and a lot of what you're seeing on the coin there is toning. It is not damaged. PCGS graded it at an AU 58. This coin is really rare and valuable because of a few things. First of all, look at the D mint mark on the back bottom center left area of the coin. That means it was struck at the Denver Mint. Now on the front, you're going to want to look at the date. This is a 1942/1 variety. Essentially during the minting process, there was a mistake and this never meant to happen, but this example sold for $2,220. Now for Denver, they issued 60,740,000 of these coins, which might seem like a lot, but Philadelphia issued 205,432,329, and then San Francisco issued the lowest amount, which is at 49,300,000. This Denver issued coin right here was graded by PCGS at a mint state 67 plus. The plus sign does increase the value of the coin. This also has a CAC sticker, so just about everything good that happened to this coin did happen. The CAC or CIC sticker essentially is given after you get your coin graded. You can send it to another third-party company who will look at the coin and see if it's worthy for the CAC sticker. The plus sign, like I said, increases the value. So does the CAC sticker. This little Mercury dime sold for $279. Same type of coin at 1942 Denver issued with the full bands on the back. The previous coin did have that as well, but I didn't talk about it. I'll explain it here. Essentially, this one got a mint state 68 grade, so it's a point higher. The only thing that this one is missing is the CAC sticker, but it sold for $840. When it comes to the bands, essentially you want to be looking at that hatchet on the back. Those horizontal bands on that hatchet are the highest point on the coin. They get worn down the quickest, and they are the hardest area to strike during the minting process. Typically, to receive the full band designation, a coin must be MS 60 or higher, which means uncirculated, to get these full bands. Just keep that in mind because this one sold for $840. Alright guys, 12,000 $4,000 for this 1942D 10-cent Mercury dime. PC just graded it at a mint state 68 plus with the CAC sticker with the full band. So this coin has it all. The only thing that would make it better is if it got a higher grade, which 68 is already an insanely high grade. And looking at the population guide, there are none that graded at a 69 or a 70. So that's how rare it is to get a 68 with a plus sign to bat. You'll also notice this has a bit of toning going on with it, which is a naturally occurring oxidation process that happens depending on how the coin is stored. The air will oxidize with the metals in the coin, causing a chemical reaction like this. Some collectors love it, some don't love it as much. Either way, the toning didn't really impact the value too much here at all. It's mainly the grade, the plus sign, the full bands, the CAC sticker. It's got it all. $12,000 it sold for. All right, $1,980 for this 1942 PCGS graded AU55 full band. So when we saw this coin, we thought it was very strange that it had the full band designation, because typically you need to have a mint state 60 or higher in order to get the full band designation. An exception is made for the 1916D Mercury dime and the 1942/1 and the 1942/1D overdates. These are eligible for the full band designation at an AU50 score. The reason for this is very likely the fact that they are just very rare coins and people still wanted that designation, and there's still value added for the AU50 score and higher. So I spoiled it a bit there. This is a 1942/1. Once again, it's a rare mistake that happened during the minting process, and this coin, even though it graded at almost uncirculated, it sold for $1,980. $1,440 for this 1942 Philadelphia issued coin. Philadelphia coins do not have a mint mark anywhere on them. This one has some nice toning, which, like I said, collectors either like or don't like. This one has the full band. 68 is a very high grade. It sold for $1,440. $4,000 for this Philadelphia issued 10-cent Mercury dime. PC just graded it at a mint state 68 plus. It also has a CAC sticker and toning. 68 plus in general is an incredibly hard grade to get, especially for the Mercury dime. This coin sold for $4,000. We're rolling right into the San Francisco issued coins. This one is a PC just graded mint state 67 with the full bands on the back. You would imagine that this coin would sell for a lot more than $300, but $300 is all it sold for, which still can be a lot of money, but this example right here sold for $1,320. It is a PCGS graded mint state 67 plus with the full bands on the back with the CAC sticker. Really beautiful looking coin that sold for $1,320. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next one.